the girl says to the billionaire. "Hi, sir. My mother had the same tattoo as you." Imagine this. A little girl, no older than 10, walks into the towering glass doors of one of the most powerful corporations in the city. Her worn sneakers squeak against the polished marble floor as suited executives hurry past, glancing curiously at her patched jeans and slightly faded sweater. She clutches a small backpack tightly, her knuckles white with determination. And then she says it, words that will change everything. "Hi, sir. My mother had the same tattoo as you." That single sentence sets off a chain reaction, unraveling secrets buried deep beneath years of silence, grief, and unanswered questions. This is not just a story about a billionaire. It's a tale of family, loss, redemption, and the unbreakable bonds we carry with us, even when they're inked on our skin. The scene unfolds in the heart of Westbrook Enterprises, where James Westbrook, a man whose name is synonymous with power and success, sits behind his massive desk, like a king surveying his empire. At 42, he has built an impenetrable fortress around himself, a life defined by ambition, precision, and control. But all of that begins to crumble the moment Emma Bennett steps into his office. With her earnest expression and trembling voice, she tells him something that sounds impossible, yet undeniable. Her late mother left instructions for her to find the man with the matching tattoo before she passed away. As James stares at the intricate Celtic knot peeking out from under his cuff, disbelief wars with curiosity, and maybe even hope. Could this child be connected to him? And if so, what does it mean for the life he's worked so hard to build? Emma isn't just any child. She carries her mother's legacy in more ways than one. Claire Bennett was a woman full of dreams, passion, and quiet strength. Through flashbacks, we learn how she and James were once inseparable college sweethearts. 2. Idealistic young people who believed the world could be changed by their love and shared vision. They got matching tattoos to symbolize their eternal bond. But life had other plans. When James's father died suddenly, leaving him to take over the family business, Claire made the painful decision to step away. She thought she would hold him back from fulfilling his destiny, from becoming the leader he was meant to be. Little did she know that her sacrifice would set them both on paths filled with longing, regret, and unanswered calls across the years. As James listens to Emma recount pieces of her mother's story, memories flood back, moments of laughter, whispered promises, and the ache of losing someone who felt like home. Yet there's also tension brewing beneath the surface. Who is this girl really? Is she truly his daughter? Or is there more to her arrival than meets the eye? The stakes grow higher when corporate pressures enter the picture. Vivian Harrington, a sleek and calculating figure from James's past, reappears, reminding him of obligations tied to billion-dollar mergers and family alliances. Suddenly, James finds himself torn between the world he's always known and the fragile possibility of a new beginning, one rooted in connection rather than profit. But here's the twist. Claire wasn't just an artist painting pretty pictures or raising her daughter alone. Unbeknownst to James, or even Emma, she became an environmental activist dedicated to exposing corporate wrongdoing. One of the companies she fought hardest against, Westbrook Enterprises. It turns out Claire's work went far beyond personal grievances. It was driven by a fierce desire to protect communities harmed by negligence and greed. Now, as James grapples with the revelation of Claire's activism, he must confront uncomfortable truths about his own company. Was she fighting him all along? Did she see him as part of the problem she sought to fix? These questions hang heavy in the air, creating a web of complexity that neither James nor Emma can ignore. Through it all, Emma emerges as the heart of the story. Despite her young age, she possesses a wisdom that often leaves adults speechless. Whether it's challenging board members during tense conversations or defending her mother's ideals, she proves time and again that she's not just a bystander in this unfolding drama. Her presence forces James to rethink everything he thought he knew about responsibility, leadership, and love. He begins to realize that being a father isn't about having all the answers. It's about showing up, listening, and learning alongside your child. For Emma, finding James isn't just about solving a mystery. It's about piecing together fragments of her identity and understanding the woman her mother was outside of their small apartment. Yet, just as things start to feel stable, cracks begin to show. The boardroom becomes a battleground, with allies turning into adversaries overnight. Rumors spread like wildfire, painting Emma as a disruption to the carefully orchestrated plans of the elite. Meanwhile, James faces choices that could either redefine his legacy or destroy it completely. Will he prioritize cleaning up his company's environmental messes, honoring Claire's memory through action, or succumb to the pressures of maintaining his position? Each decision feels like walking a tightrope, with the weight of expectation pulling at him from every side. And then there's Olivia, a breath of fresh air amidst the storm. A professor of environmental science, she shares James's newfound commitment to sustainability while challenging him to think bigger, dream bolder. Their chemistry is undeniable, but it's not without complications. How will Emma react to seeing her father fall in love again? Can Olivia truly understand the complexities of stepping into a blended family, still healing from profound loss? These dynamics add layers of emotion and authenticity to a narrative already brimming with heart as the story builds toward its climax. Unresolved tensions simmer beneath the surface. James prepares for a pivotal board meeting that could determine not only his future, but also the fate of the Westbrook Environmental Foundation, an initiative inspired by Claire's research and Emma's unwavering belief in doing the right thing. Meanwhile, Emma wrestles with her own fears and doubts. What if she isn't enough to bridge the gap between the man her father used to be and the person he's striving to become? What if the bond they share isn't strong enough to withstand the storms ahead? With emotions running high and stakes reaching a fever pitch, the final moments of this introduction leave viewers on the edge of their seats. We watch as James touches the tattoo on his wrist, the same design now etched onto Emma's bracelet, and reflects on how far they've come. Yet, uncertainty lingers. The road ahead is uncertain, fraught with challenges that test the limits of trust, forgiveness, and resilience. Will James and Emma find a way to honor Claire's memory together? Or will the shadows of the past prove too difficult to overcome? To find out, you'll have to stay tuned for the next chapter of this unforgettable journey. As the days turned into weeks, Emma and James began navigating their new reality together. The penthouse apartment, once a sterile monument to success, slowly transformed into something resembling a home. Emma's artwork started appearing on the walls, bright splashes of color that contrasted sharply with the sleek modern design. It wasn't just decoration. It was her way of claiming space in this unfamiliar world. For James, seeing those paintings reminded him of Claire, not just because they echoed her artistic talent, but because they carried the same spirit of hope and resilience. Yet beneath the surface of these small victories, tensions simmered. James found himself constantly torn between his responsibilities at Westbrook Enterprises and his growing role as a father. Every late night at the office felt like a betrayal, while every early departure from work left him worried about the board's reaction. One evening, as Emma sat cross-legged on the living room floor sketching, she asked a question that had clearly been weighing on her mind. "Do you think Mom would have liked me living here?" Her voice was soft, almost hesitant, as if afraid of the answer. James paused mid-step, his tie still loosened from the day's meetings. He knelt beside her, studying the pencil lines taking shape on her paper. "I think your mom would have wanted you to be happy," he said finally, his tone measured, yet sincere. "But I also think she'd want us to figure out how to make things right. Not just for ourselves, but for others too." That last part lingered unspoken between them. The shadow of Westbrook Enterprises' past actions loomed large, and both knew it couldn't stay buried forever. The main conflict deepened when Vivian Harrington reappeared, this time accompanied by her father, Harold Harrington. Their visit wasn't casual. It was calculated, a reminder of the power dynamics at play. As James stood protectively near Emma during their confrontation, Vivian's words cut like glass. "You're throwing away decades of planning for what? A child who walked into your life out of nowhere." Behind her polished exterior, there was venom in her tone, a mix of anger and disbelief. Emma, clutching her mother's photograph tightly, felt a surge of defensiveness rise within her. Before she could respond, James stepped forward, his voice steady despite the storm brewing inside him. "Emma isn't out of nowhere. She's my daughter, and she's worth more than any merger or deal." But the stakes grew higher when Harold revealed the extent of the backlash brewing among the board members. 3 had already called for a vote of no confidence in James's leadership. The pressure mounted, forcing James to confront not only external challenges, but internal doubts as well. Could he balance being a CEO and a father? Did he even deserve either role after years of prioritizing profit over people? These questions gnawed at him late into the night as he pored over documents detailing the environmental damage caused by Westbrook Enterprises. What Claire had fought against and what Emma now championed was staring him directly in the face. The company he'd poured his soul into building was complicit in harming communities, polluting rivers, and destroying ecosystems. Meanwhile, Emma wrestled with her own struggles. At school, whispers followed her wherever she went. Some kid teased her about her sudden change in lifestyle, while others admired her bravery. But none truly understood the weight she carried. The responsibility of bridging 2 worlds that seemed fundamentally opposed. One afternoon, while working on a project for her environmental club, Emma stumbled upon an old report authored by her mother. It detailed the very manufacturing plants that Westbrook Enterprises operated, accusing them of negligence and unethical practices. Reading through the pages, Emma felt a knot tighten in her stomach. Her mother hadn't just criticized the company, she'd exposed its darkest secrets. And now, James was caught in the middle of reckoning with those truths. Grace became an unexpected ally during this turbulent period. Sensing James's turmoil, she offered guidance rooted in pragmatism and empathy. "Change doesn't happen overnight," she told him one evening over coffee. "But you have a chance to do something meaningful, to honor Claire's legacy, and prove to Emma that you're capable of leading with integrity." Grace's words resonated deeply, planting seeds of possibility in James's mind. Perhaps the foundation he envisioned wasn't just about cleaning up environmental messes. Perhaps it was about transforming the entire ethos of the company. Still, the road ahead promised resistance from shareholders, board members, and even parts of himself reluctant to let go of old habits. Amidst the chaos, Olivia Matthews entered their lives more fully. Initially introduced through the Foundation's initiatives, her presence brought a calming influence. Unlike Vivian, whose ambition masked insecurity, Olivia radiated authenticity. She spoke to Emma as an equal, asking thoughtful questions about her club projects and sharing stories of her own activism. To James, she represented everything he needed, but didn't know how to ask for: partnership, understanding, and a shared vision for a better future. Yet, even as their relationship blossomed, James remained cautious, acutely aware of the delicate balance required to introduce someone new into Emma's life. The tension reached its peak during a pivotal board meeting. James arrived, dressed impeccably, his usual confidence tempered by nerves. As he addressed the room, laying out his plans for the Westbrook Environmental Foundation, the atmosphere shifted palpably. Some board members listened intently, nodding along as he outlined the long-term benefits of sustainable practices. Others, led by Harold Harrington, barely concealed their disdain. When the vote came, the air crackled with anticipation. 2 votes. That was all that separated James from losing everything he'd worked for. In that moment, as he waited for the results, memories flooded back. Claire's laughter, Emma's determination, and the countless nights he'd spent questioning whether he was enough. When the chairman announced the outcome, relief washed over James. But it was short-lived. Winning the vote wasn't the end. It was merely the beginning. Outside the boardroom, reporters swarmed, eager to dissect the drama unfolding within Westbrook Enterprises. Inside, Emma waited anxiously, clutching the bracelet James had given her earlier that week, a symbol of their eternal bond. As James walked toward her, his expression unreadable, she braced herself for whatever came next. Would the foundation succeed? Could they repair the harm done to the environment and the communities affected? Most importantly, could they heal the fractures in their own family? With each step closer to resolution, the story teetered on the edge of triumph and disaster. The choices James, Emma, and Olivia made in the coming days would define not just their futures, but the legacy of Westbrook Enterprises itself. And as the city skyline glowed beyond the penthouse windows, it served as a silent witness to the battles fought and the bonds forged, an eternal reminder that some connections transcend time, circumstance, and even death. The days following James's proposal were a whirlwind of emotions for everyone involved. Emma found herself smiling more than she had in months, watching as her father, no longer just the stern CEO she'd first met, began to truly embrace life again. Olivia moved into the penthouse gradually, her presence bringing warmth that seemed to fill every corner of the once cold and impersonal space. Together, they turned it into something entirely new, a home filled with laughter, shared meals, and quiet moments of connection. But beneath the surface, there was still work to be done. The Westbrook Environmental Foundation had only begun its mission, and while some board members reluctantly supported James's vision, others continued to resist at every turn. One evening, as Emma sat working on a school project about environmental activism, she stumbled upon an old article featuring her mother's face alongside a group of activists holding protest signs outside one of Westbrook Enterprises' factories. Her heart raced as she read through the details, realizing how much courage it must have taken for Claire to stand against such a powerful corporation, even if it meant opposing the man she loved. It struck Emma then, her mother's fight wasn't just personal, it was universal. She hadn't been trying to hurt James, but to hold him accountable, to push him toward becoming the person she always believed he could be. This realization hit Emma hard, and she decided to share it with James. Sitting together in the living room later that night, she showed him the article. "Mom didn't hate you," Emma said softly. "She wanted to remind you of who you used to be." the guy who dreamed of changing the world. James stared at the photo for a long time, his expression unreadable. When he finally spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. She was right, he admitted. And maybe she knew I'd need someone like her, or like you, to wake me up when I lost my way. As weeks turned into months, the foundation gained momentum, thanks in large part to Olivia's expertise and Emma's passion for continuing her mother's legacy. Former colleagues of Claire's joined the cause, lending their knowledge and experience to tackle decades of environmental damage caused by the company. Slowly but surely, polluted rivers began to clear. Neglected communities started receiving support, and sustainable practices became ingrained in the company's operations. The transformation wasn't easy. It came with intense scrutiny from the media, legal battles, and even threats from rival corporations. But James refused to back down. For the first time in years, he felt alive, driven not by profit margins, but by purpose. Meanwhile, Emma blossomed under the care of her newfound family. With James and Olivia's encouragement, she pursued her love of art, using it as a tool to raise awareness about environmental issues. One of her paintings, a vibrant depiction of a river flowing cleanly through a thriving ecosystem, was chosen for display at a local gallery. On opening night, surrounded by friends, classmates, and reporters eager to hear her story, Emma stood confidently beside her artwork. "This is for my mom," she told the crowd, her voice steady despite the spotlight. "She taught me that we can all make a difference, no matter how small our actions might seem." Back at home, James watched proudly as Emma fielded questions from journalists, her answers thoughtful and genuine. He glanced over at Olivia, who stood nearby with a soft smile, and felt a wave of gratitude wash over him. This was what Claire had hoped for, wasn't it? A family united not just by blood, but by shared values and dreams. As the evening wound down, Emma approached them, clutching a bouquet of wildflowers someone had given her after the event. "I think Mom would have liked this," she said, handing the flowers to James. She always said people should celebrate victories, even the little ones. In the months that followed, the Westbrook household settled into a rhythm that felt almost ordinary, almost, but not quite. There were still challenges, of course. Board meetings remained tense, and Vivian Harrington continued to lurk in the background, plotting ways to undermine James's leadership. But these obstacles only strengthened their resolve. Grace often joked that James had become unrecognizable to his former self, trading late-night work sessions for family dinners and weekend hikes. Even Harold Harrington eventually conceded defeat, acknowledging that James's changes had revitalized the company in ways no one expected. On a crisp spring morning, nearly 2 years after Emma first walked into James's office, the family gathered at Claire's gravesite. The air smelled of fresh earth and blooming flowers, and the sky stretched wide and blue above them. Emma placed a bouquet of wildflowers on the headstone, just as she always did, while James stood quietly beside her. "We did it, Claire," he said softly, his voice breaking slightly. "Your daughter's amazing, and your research, it changed everything. I wish you could see it." Olivia wrapped an arm around Emma's shoulders, pulling her close, and the three of them stood there together, connected by grief, love, and hope. Later that day, as they drove home, Emma noticed something different about James. He seemed lighter somehow, as if a weight he'd carried for years had finally lifted. "Do you think Mom forgives us?" she asked suddenly, breaking the silence. James glanced at her in the rearview mirror, his expression thoughtful. "I think she already did," he replied. "And I think she'd be proud of the choices we've made." By summer, the penthouse was barely recognizable. Emma's artwork covered the walls, mingling with photographs of Claire, James, and Olivia. The kitchen table was cluttered with half-finished puzzles and stacks of books, evidence of lazy Sunday mornings spent together. And in the center of it all was the Celtic knot bracelet James had given Emma, a constant reminder of the bond that had brought them together. On the anniversary of James and Olivia's wedding, the family celebrated with a quiet dinner at home. As they sat around the table, laughing and sharing stories, Emma realized something important. Life wasn't about avoiding pain or loss. It was about finding meaning in those experiences and using them to build something better. Looking around at the people she loved most, she felt a deep sense of peace. Her mother's memory lived on, not just in the foundation or the artwork or the bracelet, but in the hearts of everyone Claire had touched. That night, as Emma drifted off to sleep, she thought about the journey that had brought her here. From the moment she stepped into James's office, armed with nothing but a photograph and a story, she had set something extraordinary in motion. Some bonds, she realized, weren't bound by time or circumstance. They endured, guiding people back to each other and helping them find their way home. As the city lights twinkled beyond her window, Emma smiled, knowing that her mother's dream, and her own, had finally come true.